Welcome, friends, to a city that hasn't even existed for 50 years. I'm shocked, guys.
We don't have a political party here.
Ja, jetzt.
Eine Stadt, die heute das russischsprachige Zentrum des Landes ist.
We are a result of the Soviet Union.
And a city that was left behind and is known for unemployment and drug use, clash of culture, city of contradictions. I'm in Lithuania, the 9th country in the Soviet project. The city I'm going to visit today was actually founded only in 1975. A nuclear power plant was built nearby, so they needed housing for workers coming from across the Soviet Union. The Ignalina nuclear power plant was the only one in all of Lithuania and was in operation from 1981 to 2008. Under the slogans, Lenin, the power of the party, and the strength of the people ensure the victory of communism, the nuclear power plant was supposed to become the showcase project of the Soviet Union at the time and demonstrate the rise into modernity. Since the closure of the power plant, however, the city has been considered a social trouble spot, marked by high unemployment and drug abuse. We are talking about Visaginas. Follow me through Lithuania's nuclear city. On the drive, all kinds of thoughts went through my mind. If you believe the reports, Visaginas is a rundown city struggling with poverty and unemployment. You know, I always try to talk to people on my travels across the former Soviet Union, but today I'm more nervous than usual, because I don't know how people in such a notorious place will react to me and my camera. This place is fascinating and deeply tied to the city's nuclear power plant. I'm curious how much of the Soviet Union remains in this small town. Although the population here is Russian-speaking, with at least 55% being ethnic Russians, the shop signs are still in Lithuanian. The street signs are in Lithuanian, so it's a real clash of cultures. It really stands out. Even though everyone speaks Russian, not everything is labeled in Russian. What do you think about the city, Henning?
Less bleak than I expected. You can definitely tell that people at least put some effort into the city planning.
Definitely, yes. But compared to Vilnius, there's a clear difference.
Yes, definitely, yes.
It's more functional. Vilnius is decorated and designed for beauty, and here I think it's more about function. You can tell right away by the way things were built. Yes, that's really noticeable. One or two questions. You've already lived here. Lived.
When
Worked.
Lived.
And was it better back then, coming to the USSR, or is life better now?
It's hard to say. It's a completely different life. On one hand, there were good social benefits back then. On the other hand, for me personally, life is better now.
You could say there were better things and not so good things, and it's the same now, yes. For example, I heard that here, well, now there are a lot of people without jobs in this city, or has it already improved?
Yes, the job situation isn't very good.
And young people are leaving. They're leaving, yes. Yes, but overall, how is life here? It's good?
it's fine. Everything is good. Yes, we are retirees. This is the best city for retirees. This one, the scenery is beautiful.
And, well, I know most of the population here are Russians, or, oh, now they speak Russian.
Here, let's say there are more Russian-speaking people.
Yes.
Not everyone here is Russian. Some are Ukrainian or Belarusian.
There are Poles, about 20 nationalities, approximately. Well, just read about it. But most people speak Russian. You can
Ask what nationalities live here.
How should I tell you? We have a mix. We are simply a product of the Soviet Union, if I can put it that way.
We were all citizens of the Soviet Union. Yes.
We are Ukrainians. We have Polish, Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Jewish blood. We? Would you say you're cosmopolitans?
Yes, that's a wonderful way to look at it. Positive, excuse me.
Please.
Thank you.
This place is pretty good for retirees thanks to many green spaces. The city was also designed for work, and it had a nuclear power plant. And you have to make it appealing for people to live here somehow. That means the city isn't a disaster. On the other hand, of course, the lack of prospects does exist here, especially for the young people. The young people all go abroad or leave the city and only come back for the summer holidays. And that shows a bit that if you're young, you can't really work here, there are hardly any jobs, and the jobs that do exist here are very poorly paid. But yeah, let's move on. Let's see what else we can find out in the city. Let's see if this ends up in the video.
The city is growing, but at the moment it's not growing as fast as it was when the station was being built. But still, every year the number of people in the city increases. Basically, right now about 22,000 people live in the city. There are more and more young families. A lot of people come from big cities because apartments here are relatively cheaper than in Vilnius, Kaunas, or Klaipėda. The city is very convenient for young families too. There are kindergartens, schools, and clubs for children. Everything is close by. Basically, you can walk across the whole city in half an hour.
Teresa, one last question because I'm curious. Well, are most people ethnically Russian or Lithuanian?
Yes. Actually, there are a lot of nationalities living in the city because when the station was being built, people came here from all over the Union. Russians, Kazakhs, and anyone else. Lithuanians, yes, everyone came here. And then, when the station was operating well, children were born, of course. The children, when Lithuania became an independent country, the children started learning Lithuanian. At first, very few people here spoke Lithuanian. Now you hear a lot more Lithuanian here, yes.
It's fascinating. The buildings here are covered in graffiti, the windows are smashed, it feels like it's partly abandoned here. Retirees claim young people are moving away and there are no prospects. However, a young family says more people arrive each year, the city is growing, has potential, and is becoming increasingly livable. So it's a city of controversy, I would say. You don't really know what's actually true. I especially noticed this contrast in the cityscape. You have completely neglected and abandoned buildings, and just 50 meters away it's totally idyllic again, and it seems to be the same with people's opinions. I'll talk to more people again and hope that a clearer picture will emerge.
It was better when the station was here.
It was better, right?
Yes.
Because there was work there. Now it's hard for young people to find a job.
There is no work there now.
You can't find one, right? No.
Only what is meant to be remains.
Are you from Latvia yourself or are you from Ukraine and ethnically Russian?
Oh, we don't make that distinction here.
Really?
There's no distinction.
But it's nice that you haven't... No.
No.
Doesn't make distinctions.
Everything was fine even in Soviet times. The station was better because more young people came. They came. And now no one comes around. The Soviet Union was separated and that's it.
I was a pensioner. Is the pension enough here in Lithuania, or is it difficult? Yes.
Yes, the pension varies.
It varies, right? Yes.
Since I worked for 90 rubles, my pension is small. And most people ended up like that. But those who worked at the station,
Most of them, yes, but one last compliment. You look very good. That's such a stylish dress. Very stylish. Ha 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 ha.
No, still not. It's all Soviet rule.
Thank you again, right? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to think. Somehow you like it, but at the same time it's still bleak when you hear that young people don't even want to live anymore and so on. Somehow it's a typical Soviet city. And you have to know, this is the interesting thing, there are no more Soviet cities in Lithuania. Lithuania and the Baltics themselves have really freed themselves from this past, from this Soviet past. That's why it's always exciting to find these individual hotspots in those countries, places that have somehow remained stuck in time. And that's what the lady said too. We are Soviet citizens. I asked where she was from. Is she Ukrainian? Is she Russian? She's none of that. She said, like everyone here, we all come from the Soviet Union. I think that's also something kind of beautiful. People here don't look at nationality. And that sentence also tells me that things here have stayed stuck in time, because saying, even 30 years later, that we're from the Soviet Union is actually pretty remarkable. Here you can see the contradictions again. Up there, the houses were abandoned and covered in graffiti. And here, I think for a city 2 hours outside the capital and for a small town, it's relatively modern. Some kind of water fountain. Suddenly all the houses are clean, no longer abandoned. City of contradictions, I would say. Although I did find a piece of graffiti there, but only one. Oh, and do you see that? A Soviet mosaic? Guys, I always look for these things in videos, and I can promise you, this mosaic is from the Soviet Union era. I'd bet my life on it. You do the research and write it in the comments. But I bet this mosaic is 30 or 40 years old and was painted when the nuclear power plant was operating. That makes sense, since these spheres seem to reflect the nuclear power plant.
Until next time. Bye. Bye.
What do you think is the reason why the perceptions of this city are so different between generations?
There are two reasons for that. First, the older generation has a reference point and remembers how things were. At that time, over 5,000 people worked at this nuclear power plant near the city. So much more was happening here. The boulevards were crowded. There were young people, because for this kind of physical work, you need young people. That means I think you have a different experience in the city. And now the city is a bit empty, you don't have young people anymore. And I think that's why the older people are more critical now than, for example, the young family we asked, because they simply don't know how it used to be. At least it was livelier. And the second reason is, we all know this, it's the same across cultures and nationalities. The older generation always claims things were better before, which also matters. People love to reminisce about the past and then say it was better back then. I think that's why, if you asked young people here, I think they would report more positively than the older generation. That's how I would assess it, yes. What do you think that is? I saw something back there. It looked like old shops, or maybe a school. Did you see it? For example, there are homeless people under the bridge, which is a stark contrast here. Because over there it's fancy, and here again is this abandoned public building. I think this contrast becomes clear on every corner. You may have noticed in the video, there are no cars in the center. That's common in former Soviet Union cities. There were the boulevards, which were really for pedestrians and cyclists. Cars weren't wanted here. They disturbed the peace. And yes, you saw it, we walked through. Watch the video again, go through it once more. I bet you hardly saw a single car in this video. The workers were simply taken to work in large buses. That was already the case in Nowa Ruta. Maybe you've seen the video from Poland. There, they were taken by large buses to the steel industry. Here, they were taken by large buses to the nuclear power plant. Cars are only found outside the city. If we turn around now, when you exit the center, there are cars and roads outside. But here in the center, you can't get in with a car, and this city concept is very typical for the former Soviet Union. We definitely have to go there again. That looks totally destroyed. We were already here in the intro. That's reality. People actually live here. And you can see how run down this is. It's pretty rough. On the way back to the car, I approached a group of teenagers I spotted by the fountain. I just wanted to find out if they share the older generation's opinion or if they see their city completely differently. I'm shocked, guys. I went there expecting them to tell me, yeah, it's boring to live here. They said, it's klasne prikольно to live here, like, wonderful, cool. Then I asked, wouldn't you want to live in Vilnius later? No, it's more fun here. There's more going on here for us, for our group of friends, and I'm not messing with you. I'm really shocked. I'm not shocked that they're positive, but being this positive is kind of strange. Yeah, interesting. The other young family also said that it's great. She's confirming young people call it awesome, while older ones say they're all leaving. Yeah, and I also believe the older people that there are few young people here, but the ones who are here seem to like it somehow. It's still surprising. These boulevards and so on are really something, but I would have assumed it's still boring for young people. I would have thought people want to go to Vilnius, people want to move to some capital cities, maybe even emigrate. But no, this isn't a big sample, but apparently there really are young people who say, this is a cool place. That was really the core idea behind communism and the Soviet Union, even though it was a terrible time. Because of the people who ruled at that time, Stalin who put masses of people into camps and killed them. But the positive side of this ideology, that's how I imagined it. People living together comfortably here, enjoying the boulevards. So it feels like you're living and experiencing an idea here that was dreamed up 50 years ago and made real. An idea of how people should live together. I leave Visaginas with mixed feelings. I mean, I came here expecting the city to be completely run down and neglected, but in the end, I was actually pleasantly surprised. The people there also gave me a good feeling about the future. Now I'm heading to a place where there are simply over 1 million crosses. But why that's not just about religion, you'll find out in the second part of this Lithuania series. I hope you liked the video. That city was full of contrasts. I'm interested to see what the coming weeks bring. Our journey through Lithuania and the Soviet Project 9 goes on. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel. I'm supported by 25 native on this trip, so check out their work in the video description. They do great work in videography, editing and more. Check them out. See you next time. Bye.